Now, over the past couple of months, we have seen that Disney and Lucasfilm have been going through a lot of different changes when it comes to how they are beginning to handle the Star Wars franchise and respect the fans and really kind of be very attentive toward the Star Wars lore, and how John and Dave are really working very closely hand in hand with George Lucas on this front. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that yes, we have a lot of things happening at once between John, George, and Dave, as well as Kathleen Kennedy, John Watts, and Leslie Headland working on Skeleton Crew and the Acolyte. We're going to be getting into that in just a second. There's a lot of different avenues that all these creators are taking with the Star Wars roadmap. Now, we know that Celebration this year is going to be a very important one, especially for the fact that we're going to have Bob Iger, John, George, and Dave there, as well as other creatives coming on stage to make some very big announcements. And that's not the end of it. We also have D23 that's going to fill in more announcements of the ever-evolving roadmap of Star Wars. Now, with that being all said, we know that there's a lot of changes happening with Skeleton Crew as a series, a lot of problems arising out of the show, all because of Kathleen Kennedy really being very relentless on making the worst decisions possible. And it's just very unfortunate. You know, I'm not here to hope and watch a Star Wars TV show fail, but it's just very unfortunate that this is a series that's going through a lot of problems, a lot of poor leadership skills by Kathleen Kennedy, and of course, John Watts, who, by the way, is being very misguided because of Kathleen Kennedy's demands on the show. But it doesn't really end there, because Kathleen Kennedy recently did something that really kind of set the Skeleton Crew series on a little bit of a collision course. Now, with that being said, with Kathleen Kennedy driven shows like Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, and how they have been going through many issues behind the scenes, one of the most recent mishaps that Kennedy caused for the Skeleton Crew show involved the cancellation of a major scene that John and Dave implemented when they were helping out fixing some of the scenes by including some cameos. Now, one scene in particular that was cancelled by Kennedy for Skeleton Crew involved one big moment between both Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano, in which it showcases how they both met before the events of the Book of Boba Fett, indicating that Skeleton Crew either A, takes place before the Book of Boba Fett, or this was in the form of a flashback. The scene created by John and Dave that was cut involved Jude Law's character running into Ahsoka Tano on the world of Pilio, where Ahsoka is on the hunt of finding Anakin's son, somewhere in the galaxy, and informing Jude's character that she is close and that Luke is within the proximity. Now, this entire scene escalated to where Jude Law's character takes care of the children as Ahsoka Tano enters into an ancient Jedi temple and meets Luke Skywalker and R2-D2, obtaining old and ancient Jedi lore that was stashed away in a hidden vault from Emperor Palpatine. Now, let me just stop right here for a second, alright? There's more to all of this. Now, this was yet one of the secondary cameo scenes for the second half of Skeleton Crew, in which you were going to have Ahsoka Tano finding Luke for the very first time. Now, we already know that Ahsoka is going to be a part of Skeleton Crew. Not all of her scenes were cut or deleted, because John and Dave, got to help out with the show to an extent, and Kathleen Kennedy, by contract, is not allowed to delete all of them. But this one in particular she did, without authorization from Disney. Now, the thing about this that worries a lot of fans is, how is this really going to impact the flow of the Skeleton Crew series, or how it really plays out, right? We know that this was going to be a very big scene. In fact, it was a very expensive scene to film. They had, of course, Rosario Dawson back for the role of Ahsoka on Pilio, seeking out Anakin's son, Luke, of course, and this is a direct callback to something very special. We're going to tap into that in a second, but Skeleton Crew seems like Kathleen Kennedy just wants nothing to do with the cameos, nothing to do with any kind of callbacks, and especially nothing to do with fan favorite characters. Basically, she wants the show to be 100% written on a blank canvas, nothing to do with the fan favorite characters that so many fans just love and cherish. So that brings us to the next big scenario here, alright? Now on top of this too, this is actually a direct callback to the Battlefront video game, in which Luke discovers Palpatine's vault on the same world, Apilio. This would indicate that John and Dave were planning on retconning that very scene from the video game, and fine-tuned it to where Ahsoka would meet Luke. Kennedy then deleted this, and now John and Dave are trying to salvage the entire scene to use in Mando Season 4. Disney executives were very frustrated over Kennedy's decision and actually got into a very argumentative conversation about that. Now, again, the fact that we have John and Dave trying to really save this actual scene to salvage it and use it for Mando Season 4 is excellent. That's the silver lining, right? To me, a lot of times with every cloud comes a silver lining. And I think that this was a very big cloud, a very dark cloud for Skeleton Crew. And John and Dave found a way to create a silver lining here. You know, they are finding a way to salvage the footage and throwing this very moment in Mando Season 4. So though we may not be getting this in Skeleton Crew, which is very sad and unfortunate, it is another prime example of Kathleen Kennedy's poor leadership and absolute, you know, no need to deal with the fans. She just does not care. But this is good news because now John and Dave are picking up on the footage that they actually initiated and got shot for Skeleton Crew and are going to be able to throw that into Mando 4. But again, this is making Disney lose more money. It's creating more problems with production, more delays. In fact, who even knows at this point if Skeleton Crew is going to release in 2023 or not? It could. I'm not saying it will, but it could very well be delayed until early 2024 if this keeps on taking course, where you're having so many scenes getting deleted and more reshoots being initiated, more delays going into the whole process. I mean, it's a mess. It really is. It's unfortunate and it's very sad because this show could have really been something so different with John and Dave's help, and so many of their efforts and their help is being disregarded by Kathleen Kennedy. Not all of it, but a majority of it, which is very depressing, honestly. So here we are. I mean, it's basically getting close to the end of February. We're about, 2 weeks away from Mando Season 1, or Season 3's first debut of the first episode. That's really going to kickstart this new universe. And like in Mando Season 1, is what I meant to say, that was a fresh start. Mando Season 3 is also going to be considered a fresh start. They're going to treat it in an entirely different way than what they did with Mando 2. So, overall, they're really taking a lot of chances with this, and Disney thankfully allowed John and Dave to find a way to salvage that footage for Skeleton Crew to be used in Mando Season 4. So that's the good news, guys. The bad news is that we're not going to be getting that very big moment in which Ahsoka meets Luke for the first time in Skeleton Crew. We could have saw that this year if it weren't for Kathleen Kennedy. Alright, so overall, guys, fill me in below in the comments what you guys have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. No, I'm not the one from night